Peace be to you all. Assalamualaikum. Omar here, physician associate, health educator, and middle-aged distance runner. I just got off from work, just got home. Alhamdulillah, thank the Lord. So I just watched an interview with one of the doctors who treated the children in the horrible mass shooting in Texas, and it made me really think about my own experience having to tell parents that their children didn't make it. You know, I work in one of the more violent areas of Washington, D.C., in Anacostia, and I did my training in D.C. General Hospital. And my first experience was a 14-year-old boy who was 1 week shy of his 15th birthday. And I sewed his body up after the surgeons got through working on him. He was dead, obviously. Cleaned him off, put him in a it's like a plastic sack, and it took his body down to it's like a waiting area for the bodies before they go down to the morgue. And you know, nobody had talked to the boy's parents, so I met a gentleman who introduced me as the father of one of the patients who had been brought into the trauma bay. He said, "Hey, look, doc," and I was a student at the time. I had on my short white lab coat, but nobody knows the difference between the short white coat and the long white coat. You know, if you're not in the medical field, in many cases. He said, "Doc, you know, I got a call saying my son was brought here and he had been shot. Do you know anything about it?" I was like, "Oh God, nobody talked to this poor guy yet." So I asked him what his son's name was, and then I told him, I said, "I'm sorry, he didn't make it." And he went and told his wife, and she was screaming, obviously. She just lost it. And she opened the bag up. I showed him to where his parents, where the boy's body was, and the mother was shaking his body, saying, "Wake up, wake up." And that memory always stuck with me. This is more than 20 years ago. So I can't imagine being the doctor or one of the clinical staff involved in bringing the bodies of the children in from these mass shootings. You know, there's been other school shootings, and there's unfortunately there's going to be more mass shootings, and many of them are going to be at schools, and many more children are going to get killed. It's just the way. There's something about our society that seems to foster that. But I say all that to say that if you're going to become a clinician, whether it's a doctor, or a PA, or a nurse practitioner, and you know, or a ER tech, and you're working in a trauma bay, you got to kind of prepare yourself for being the dispenser of bad news. And I would say in particular if you're a doctor, a PA, or an NP, because it's going to be kind of your responsibility, because it can be very, very difficult. Be prepared to have family members, parents in particular, pass out. You know, be ready to catch people as they fall to the floor. They may take their grief out in the form of anger and may even attack you. I've seen this. You know, how come you all couldn't save them? You know, why? And it's a very traumatic thing. It can really get to you. It got to me because there were so many killings. This was back in the late 90s. There were so many killings in D.C. This is when D.C. was called murder capital of America, proportionately compared to the rest of the states, even though D.C. is not a state. The rest of the places in the U.S., D.C. had one of the highest, or the highest murder rate, homicide rate in the country, due to gun violence. And it's still bad. It's still really bad, especially in Ward 8, or southeast Anacostia. And I don't think it's going to get any better. You know, it's there's a saying we have that the Lord will not change the situation of the people until they change that which is in their hearts. Meaning they got to try to make themselves better. The change has got to come within. I don't know what's going on with men in particular, where we are, so many of us feel compelled to act out our anger and our mental health issues in terms of this horrific destruction, to kill as many people as you possibly can before either the police kill you or you eventually turn the gun on yourself, or like some young men have done, just wait to be like the young man in the shooting last week at a grocery store. He tried to kill as many black folks as possible. He was brought in very gently. This is going to continue. But again, if you're going to work in the trauma bay and you're going to decide upon a career in emergency medicine or trauma surgery, be prepared to be the dispenser of bad news. Quite often, the longer you stay in that position. Don't let yourself become numb to people's pain and suffering. I felt that with me, in my hospitalist work. I would, after we would have an unsuccessful code, somebody would die, and I'd go and tell the family members, I'm sorry you didn't make it, or she didn't make it. But you've got to kind of steel yourself against that your own kind of depression. You can fall into a depression and even get burned out. Now I've talked to physicians to whom this has happened, and nurses. A lot of burnout among nurses working in the ERs and trauma bays. That's it for now. I ask the good Lord to grant solace upon the families and friends of those who've lost loved ones to gun violence. There's not going to be any end to it. I'm an older guy now. I've seen all sorts of politicians try to come up with answers and things like that, and especially during election time, which we are in the midst. But just we'll see what happens with the future of these gun laws and so forth. I don't think that's going to change anything though. But if you want a career as a PA like me, please feel free to subscribe and reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information in the description. I'm very tired now. I've had a long day. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Be safe. Peace.